The following broadcast is a Nighthawk Network presentation. This is Get Off My Lawn Live. Join us as we talk trending topics, world and local issues, and the conversations that we need to talk about as people. Get Off My Lawn Live is a Nighthawk Network presentation. Good evening, folks. What's going on? This is your boy E-Buck, and this is Get Off My Lawn Live. I am coming to you from the usual spot here in Detroit, Michigan, but more importantly, I'm coming to you from America. And America, my friends, we have problems, okay? We're going to keep it straight to the point this evening. We got some problems, and I just need to talk about them. If you need to talk about them as well, if you got comments on what I have to say this evening, by all means, please join in the comments and put your 2 cents worth in, because I, for one, am tired. I am tired of the excuses. I'm tired of the same old. I am tired of seeing us go through what we're going through. And I know many of you are as well. So we're going to sit back and we're going to have that discussion tonight, okay? We're going to talk about crime. We're going to talk about government. We're even going to talk about COVID. We're going to talk about the economy. We're going to talk about how it all mixes in, okay? We got to have that discussion, because if we refuse to talk about it at all, it just keeps happening and nothing will be resolved. And we cannot have that. We cannot have that, people. This must end. So let's talk about tonight, shall we? And if not now, then when? That is my simple question. If not now, then when? So let's Get Off My Lawn Live. We'll be back after this short commercial break, and then we're going to get into it, the whole kit and caboodle. Okay, let's do it.
Come on now. Okay, black on. Get into it. Black on. Look at that David Ford right there. That's his thing. Black on. He don't know Tom. Look at that David Ford. That's his thing. He don't know Tom. Yeah. Yes. Oh, here we go. Oh, I can't see the demons. I can't see the demons, but I can see the light.
We are creating black luxury across this country.
All right, people, we are back. This is Get Off My Lawn Live. As always, I'm your host, Eric Buckner, and this evening we are talking about America in 2022. We are on the verge of some very, very serious issues, people. Now, as we had this discussion, and granted, the people that I really wish would sit in the room long enough to have these discussions are some of the main people that we'll be talking about this evening. That being said, I can only hope that bits and pieces somehow, some way of this message sticks with the people that do watch it, and they in turn could put some of that in the minds of others. Right now, we are on the verge of, as I said in previous weeks on the show, of a very, very bad summer here in America. If you have any question as to the validity of what I had to say, you need to look no further than what happened this last weekend. As you know, there were several crimes committed over the weekend throughout the country. It mattered not if you were in a large metropolitan area. It mattered not if you were in a small town. Crime is on the rise in a very, very big way, in a large way, people. And we need to understand and comprehend that this is getting worse, not better. And just ignoring the problem is not good enough. Just not watching the news every night, not good enough. Just having our elected officials sit on their hands and not do anything about it is simply not good enough. At some point, some solutions, some type of understanding needs to come among us in regards to all of this, okay? I know we are all tired of turning on our local nightly news or our national news and the first 5-10 minutes talk about them same four things every night: the economy, COVID, the whole situation in regards to the vaccines, and of course crime, and more crime. But yet that is what we got going on, okay? Yes, there are some very good things about living here in America. The fact that we had the right to voice these opinions, whether loudly or softly, that is one of them. So at this point, I am compelled to give you my thoughts on what's going on my lawn, okay? And right now, I'm not happy with it. Not happy with, for one, because I need to cut my lawn, but that's a whole nother story. The neighbors looking, yeah, I'm going to get there, okay? Y'all know I got allergies and things. But in terms of real life, the lawn that is America, I am very not pleased with what is going on throughout this country, okay? First of all, do know that the powers that be, whether you consider them to be the government or the real powers that be, they for some reason do not want us to all be in peace. They don't want us all to be on the same page. They have different priorities than many of us have. And I, for one, am tired of it. I do not understand how every year, every summer, we start out like this. How every year seems to get worse with the violent crimes, with the mass shootings. The pattern is for the most part the same. The majority of people that do the mass shootings are males between the ages of 18 to 45, and they happen to be people of non-color. There are some, much like the one Saturday involving the situation in Laguna Woods, where there was somebody who was a minority. Yes, there have been black people that have done mass shootings as well. This is not where we're going, okay? When we have these discussions, we automatically seem to categorize things based on the race, based on the gender, based on the crime and where it was located. When we find out those things, we automatically say, well, of course that happened. That's Detroit. Of course there were all those people arrested and they found all those guns. That was Chicago. That's the gang capital of the United States, it seems right now. Of course that's what went on. But do you have that same thought when you hear about places like Laguna Woods and Buffalo, New York? Places that you don't oftentimes see in the news for anything? Do you think that same thing then? Do you think that when basically you see how many people get killed, if it's just one person and that person was arguing with another person, they both the same race, is it okay? But if it's somebody of a different race, oh, now we have a problem. That's what it takes to get you there. When you find out the two people that were injured were shot with handguns, is that But when you find out it's an automatic weapon that shoots several rounds in a minute, oh, now we up in arms? What is the tolerance rate at this point, people? What does it take for the majority, the vast majority of us to get up and say, much like in that classic movie back in the day, I'm mad as hell and I'm not going to take it anymore? What does it take to get us there? Now, granted, there are some specifics to some of the crimes I do want to get into, but the fact that we are dealing in this society where it's not even June yet, and we are already ahead of last year's crime total and death total by gun violence. This is not acceptable to me. I would like to think it's not acceptable to many of you. But the question is, are you prepared to make the people who have the power do their job? Remember, we are in the beginning of yet another political cycle. And all these things that come out and happen, they will use them once again to pit one another against one another in regards to who you should vote for. The Democrats will tell you, well, we're trying to do this, this, and that. But Republicans, they are blocking all efforts. They're not working with us. Republicans are saying the Democrats are doing too much of the wrong thing and not enough of the right thing. We need more of our people so we can get things fixed, okay? Keep in mind, in the last 20, 30 years, we've had Democratic presidents, we've had Republican presidents, we've had stupid presidents, we had smart presidents. We had Republicans in charge of Congress, we've had Democrats in charge of Congress. Some things have gotten done, but some of the major things, some of the things were oftentimes when the polls are taken, the legitimate polls, not the Fox 2 News polls, they show us that the vast majority of the people in the country, they want that. Perfect example on abortion rights. When most people are polled, when we do the whole country and whatnot, the majority of people want pro-choice. It has been said that. Even in some of these states that are enacting these laws, they're saying, okay, yeah, abortion is illegal already before they even talk about it in the Supreme Court. We already say it's illegal. Several of those states are saying, okay, well, that's what my governor said. I don't necessarily agree with that. Keeping in mind that the majority of the states are run by Republican governors, you have to consider, okay, is that it? Are they really in the best interest of each individual state, or are they all playing the playlist? They all going with the master plan from the master planner. Nobody wants to go against the grain, particularly in the Republican Party, because that means you are a never Trumper, a pro this and against that. You are not deserving of being in the party. Well, guess what? If some Democrats feel like that about Democrats and some Republicans feel like that about Republicans, is it time for another party? I think so. Or it's time to just break up this whole party thing altogether. Understand, most of the laws that they are set up, majority rules determines whether they come a law or not. How could there be majority rule when you already got your vote cast for you before anything even comes out? When certain things get brought up in Congress, they get put on a desk and we never hear about them ever again. On somebody's desk, there is a bill for reparations to never see the light of day. There's a bill for universal pre-K that we may not see anytime soon, for universal health care, for universal education. These are things that many Americans have said they wanted in some way, shape, or form. But yet the people that we have voted to Congress have refused to meet our demands. But yet we still vote them back in to do more of the same. What is the real job of a congressperson this day? Is it to actually represent the people that voted them in, or is it to basically do as much collecting of cash from all other outside sources as possible before they leave office? Yeah, I said it. It's a money grab for most of them. I honestly do believe that some people went to Congress with every intention of doing everything the right way, of doing everything that they said they would in their campaign. But they got there and learned how the system works and see how the system could benefit them. And then all of a sudden, all that went out the window. It went out the window and it became, oh, I can make money this way, that way. You want me to support you, NRA? No problem. Your cash for my library fund or what have you, my charity, it's all good with me, my friend. And in exchange, you don't want me to say guns need to be gone? No problem. I could do that. For this amount of money, I most definitely could do that. How many of our government officials is on the tape, okay? And if you believe that they all there, no, they all doing the right thing. Or you thinking, okay, well, I know the people I voted for doing the right thing, but these other folks, not so much. I think you are mistaken. I think you got it twisted, okay? This is part of the problem why we don't get things resolved. If we ban automatic weapons, would the shooting stop? No. I'm going to be honest, no. No, they would not. But would they cut down significantly? I would like to think so. Now, granted, it may already be too late because if you basically grandfather in where, okay, from this point forward, no more automatic weapons. But if you have them now, it's okay for you to keep them. How many households here in America have those weapons of mass destruction, as I call them? Because truly, if you have a gun that shoots multiple rounds in seconds or in a minute, that is a weapon of mass destruction. That means you can shoot several people at once. Is that not, by definition, exactly what that is? I think so. That's how I would define it. Now, are you cool with that? Some of y'all say, I got my guns. They ain't going nowhere. But think about it. Think about why you say that. Many of you say that because you feel like they are necessary, because you see what's going on in society. In essence, you are afraid to not have them for what may happen if suddenly this law is passed and now for some strange reason, the good guys don't have the weapons, but all the bad guys are still getting them. So you could say, well, what do we do? There's people that manufacture these weapons, are they not? Could it not be something set up to where you are only allowed to make them for special circumstances, for people that are fully qualified to have them and utilize them properly, like our military personnel who may retire but basically may be called back to duty, or people of that nature? Some of our special law enforcement units. But everybody else, no, you're not allowed to have it. I don't want to hear, okay, well, Second Amendment, this, that, and that. In other countries, they have enacted these laws to not have these weapons of mass destruction, and crime there is considerably less, okay? Not to say they're not having any crime, but it's way less than us, okay? Now, granted, this is a democracy, and we do have freedom of choice in many things. It's not like China or Russia, but I promise you, they are not having the same type of crime problem that we are, because they are a lot tougher on crime, period. Am I saying now I'm a communist or want some of that going on, martial law and all that? No, I'm not saying that either. What I'm saying is if enough of us think that this is the right way to go about it, change will be enacted. The problem is we so busy fighting with the different fractions and hell, fighting with each other in certain cases that we can't get it together long enough to do the right things. That is why we find ourselves in this situation. And yes, you can be there and be stupid and just let all the people in charge tell you, well, the reason why we have this inflation and all that is primarily the fault of pick the party of your dislike. When we all know that if one day we all was working and then the next day we had to shut the world down for a considerable amount of time, that's going to affect everything, including the economy. It does not take a brain surgeon or rocket scientist to understand that. It is a simple fact of the matter that if all the money sources suddenly dry up, all the work is not being done, that's going to put the world behind where it was. And whether it was for a couple months or a couple years, it's going to take some time to get caught up from behind. Now, the problem is the companies, the powers that be, the 1%ers, they want to make up for lost time. They're not trying to take any losses. They are determined to make up for not only the money they need to make now to keep the party going, but to make up for all the money they lost along the way. That is part of why inflation, that's probably the key reason why we have inflation here in America. Not just America, by the way. Canada and other countries also having these issues. The manufacturing plants and whatnot not putting out enough. And then when they do, they send it to places and it sits for a while, stockpile, because there's not enough people to move it around and send it where it needs to go. There's not enough truck drivers to drive it around. And if there were, they still have to be concerned with the fact that They paying more for diesel fuel than we are for regular gas. Gas is at a record high yet again today. And it is said it will continue to increase. I know for a fact it will, because if you know, every year around this time, gas goes up from now to Memorial Day. That happens every year, right around the summertime. And then as the summer ends, once we get past Labor Day, gas prices go down. And that's just an irregular circumstance. So add bad economic growth and pandemic and war in Ukraine, mix all that in the pot. Yeah, we're going to have high gas. Yeah, diesel price is always higher than the regular gas. So yeah, they're going to have high gas. If we paying $5 and the truck drivers paying $6.50, and the majority of them are independent contractors, they got to be able to do their business. And if you only paying them the same amount you're paying for everything else, and you're not increasing and looking at the price of gas as a reason to increase your price, yeah, you're going to have problems with finding people to move some of your stuff. It only makes sense. But the government and the powers that be will have you believe otherwise. They play us like we dumb and soft, and we can't figure a lot of this out for ourselves. But understand, I'm talking about the people that think about these things. For other people, they are in life mode. What is life mode? That is when you wake up, you open your eyes, you maybe watch a cheek or two, and you head out in the world, and you don't care about nothing, no thing but yourself. So anything that's going on in the world around you makes never mind to you, as long as you are able to do the same 4-5 things you do every day. Go to job, make money, smoke weed, drink, have a little intercourse, get some good food, and hang with your few people you hang with. For some people, that's all life consists of. And as long as they're able to do those 5 things successfully every day without interruption, that's fine with them. They don't care about no thing and no one else. You have that fraction of people. Then you have the people like myself that do care, but we are surrounded by the people that don't. And it's only so much we can do to convince them to see it our way. And yes, there is a divide, not only between the races here in the country, but between the different generations in the country as well. Us at 30, 40, 50, we don't see it the same as the people that's coming up and in their 20s. We don't see a lot of things the same. COVID was one of them. Now, somebody accused me of saying, okay, the reason why we still have COVID running rampant is because of the young people. That's only partially true, okay? On the one hand, I understand there are older people like myself that said, mask, I ain't wearing that here. I don't care nothing about that. I done seen people say, I done had COVID 2 times, I'm straight. That's all I need to see. Because it's not about what they tell me on the news. I do my decisions based on what I see. And of course, every time we have that discussion, they go to numbers popping in and out. Ain't nobody trying to talk about this anymore. But guess what? COVID's still here, people. You just can't blow it away. It's still here. Despite our better efforts, despite vaccines and masking and separations and all of that, we are still dealing with it. Fortunately, it's not as bad as it once was, but it's still enough of a factor to where it's a factor. And we have to consider it as a group, not just individually, as a group. Does that mean I'm sitting here saying, well, I guess you want us to shut it all down again? No. Because after all, what good did that do? If we say shut it down and everybody ain't going to listen. And it's enough people not listening to where that's not effective. There are other countries in the world, they're not having these massive spikes back and forth in COVID. It's all working out just fine for them. They did what they needed to do in the first place, and they done worked it out. We supposed to be the best and brightest of any country in the world. Why can't we figure it out? Why we got to have the worst reported numbers of COVID in the world right now? Note I said reported. Let me throw the air quotes in there. because we all know the numbers are not factual. And no, for the people that like to go there like, yeah, that's because they less. They trying to scare us. Them numbers ain't less, they more, okay? Let me keep it 100 with some of y'all that I done talked to and seen in your social media and whatnot. I'm sick right now. No, it's not cold, but I got tested. Did you? Some of y'all lying, okay? I know for a fact one of y'all straight up lie. Second of all, some of y'all done self-diagnosed. But yet you seem to have all the symptoms that they say people with COVID have. But no, not you. Yours is just the cold. Yours is just the flu. And it may be. I'm not no doctor. I'm not no epidemiologist. I don't know for 100% certain. But based on what I've seen over the last couple of years, more than likely, you got it. And more than likely, at some point, you didn't had it. If they tested everybody in this country right now for antibodies, I promise you, just based on what I think, it's about 3/4 of everybody in this country that had COVID at some point, or at least had the antibodies from either being vaccinated or being around people, asymptomatic, whatever you want to call it. I promise you it's that. If it's over 100 million cases in the country since the pandemic started, and it's 360 million of us, and many of us don't live by ourselves, 2 + 2 = 4. 2 + 2 = 4. And like I said, when we add that to the mix of all the other craziness that's going on, this is where we are. We're in a society right now where you didn't put yourself in some type of category or box. America don't see itself as United States. That's all just talk right now. Because we are united when it really, really matters, perhaps. If somebody started a war with us tomorrow, maybe at that point we'd be united enough to deal with it until the war was over. But in the end, the problems remain. That's the one scary thing about it. Most of us had time to think during COVID. And several of us, we thought good things, and we have made our lives better because of it. But other people, they have sat around and thought about things, and that was the worst thing you could do, was give them time to think. Because they have processed and come to the conclusion that, yeah, I know how to make a change. I'm going to get these guns and get rid of a few of these folks. That's how I'm going to enact change. That's my best way to do it. Because mentally, they are not dealing with it. Right now, we got more people dying from opioids and more people drinking. Alcohol is one of the few things that did not go down during the pandemic. In fact, it increased. And even Orange Clown admitted early on in the pandemic, that was one of his concerns, that would happen. People would not deal with it well from a mental standpoint. I rarely want to give him credit for anything, but that much he was right about. Because that is the case. Some people out here, and they are on, it take one little thing and they gone. We got people hitting people and running off like it ain't ever happened. We got people shooting up schools on a more consistent basis. We got people committing mass shootings. Even now, right now, as we speak, there may be somebody that might check out this broadcast at some point and say, you know what? I'm still doing what I was going to do. To that person, I say, don't do it. It ain't worth it. There are other ways to resolve your issues. Put down the gun and seek help. I don't know if that's going to sink in with you, but that is my friendly advice. Listen to your uncle, okay? That's what I have to say on the subject. Now, granted, like I said, as I sit here now looking at the numbers, I know some of you will come in the room. Thank you for at least taking a couple minutes to see what I had to say. If you do agree or disagree, please put it in the comments. And it's okay if you disagree with anything or all of what I'm saying. I would rather you say, you know what, E, you do your podcast and I appreciate all that, but either I'm bored as hell or I don't care what you have to say. None of that applies to me. I'd rather you put that comment in the comment because that's showing me part of what I need to know. Some of the young people in the room, I look at your social media. You are frustrated with what's going on in life, but instead of taking the bull by the horns and doing the best you can to make yourself better, you spend a lot of that time crying and whining about nobody's helping me. Nobody loves me. I don't know what to do. You seek help, but you're seeking the wrong help. The few dollars that you may ask for so you can go get a meal or get something to drink or something to smoke, is that really helping you the way you need? Ideally, everybody wants to be self-sufficient to where they don't need to ask nothing from nobody. If they gave you the numbers tonight for the Mega Millions tomorrow, it may be like 5 people on earth that would turn that down. Now, once you get the money and how you spend it, that's another story. But at least for that one moment, you may have enough to be self-sufficient, at least for a time, depending on what you're trying to do with the $112 million or so, give or take the nice amount they take out for taxes. But in the end, we do a lot of complaining about what's going on, but the solutions, where are the solutions? Okay, I'm to the point when it comes to all these bills and legislations or whatnot, if it's anything of importance, we should be able to say, okay, we're not liking y'all not looking into this. Let's go on here, break out the clipboard and get people to sign it. And if we get enough people to say that, yeah, they want us to vote on it, put it on the ballot. Since you can't do the job that we assigned you to, let us do this one. Let us decide on abortion. Let us decide on universal health care. Let us decide on pre-care, on daycare for all. Let us make those decisions, since you don't seem to have the weight or the balls to want to, since you've been paid not to do it the way we need you to do it. Let the people decide for the people. Because I know I would feel a lot more comfortable if my 28 to 30% of tax money that gets taken from me every year went toward things that I honestly want it to go towards. I don't mind us helping other countries, but I do mind it when we are doing that and we're not doing enough to help our country. That's where I start to have the problem. I do mind that here we are in America, and part of us is just kind of on a swivel every day because we don't know where the next crazy thing is coming from. Some of us feel like we have to walk around with a gun on our hip, like this is back in the old Western days, because we don't know who the next nut gonna be to come on through and say, time to die. We don't know what to do with any of that. So we do what we feel is the right thing to do. Get the packing, load up, and the first person you say, I wish a nook would. And here we go. Is that the right way to deal with it? If you're a Bible person, of course it's not. If you're a person with any type of conscience, of course it's not. But if you basically wake up and say, it's either them or me, and that is that, and that is your mentality from day to day, it's hard to get past you at this point, okay? Now, granted, like I said, there's other issues, the whole racial divide thing, okay? It is being said that the reason why the young man committed the crime according to his manifesto he put online was because he believed in something that is called race replacement theory, which basically sounds the way you think it does, where the concern is that the people who are the majority, people who are Caucasian, white, whatever politically correct term you would prefer, some of them have a legitimate fear that if enough minorities are allowed in the country or are born into the country, there will come a point where there will be more minorities than whites. That's pretty much probably going to happen regardless of any of your efforts. That at that point, they will take over the country and basically look to punish those who have been in charge, to basically make it to where, oh, now it's no longer in the better interest of white people to be white in America. Now they're the minority. Now they get treated differently. As opposed to looking at it from the standpoint of, okay, if you make it to where everybody is treated and dealt with the same, Don't you think you would get better results from that? If to where you as a person of color can go in any bank and be like, look, this is the loan I would like to get out. This is my collateral. And they don't look at your address. They don't look at your name and how unique it may be. They don't look at your family history. They just look at it as like, okay, we gave the same person that didn't look like you an opportunity. Let's give you that same opportunity. And if you don't make out well with it, it is what it is. But just like black people default on business loans, white people do too. And I'm sure it happens more often because they are more likely to get one. It's been said that a lot of people of color have trouble getting any type of big term loans is because they don't have a relationship with the bank that they are getting it from. How can you have a relationship with the bank if you are not allowed to have the criteria for what it is? It is simply that. It is simply that. So what do we do, people? What do we do? Do we do what we're doing now? As I'm sitting here telling you how I feel, we see me on, we hear what I'm talking about, we turn a blind eye, we care not to care. We just see me like, there go E again, and you go on, keep on scrolling. But if I come on here one night talking about I hit the lottery, and I'm looking for people to look out for, I bet you that little eye that I'm looking at, it got 0 right now, that boy will start to ring up the chain like, oh, y'all might want to hit some of this. He talking about he got money, he giving it away. It is sad that I live in a society, that I live amongst people that know me, and I get more likes on my social media for what I posted for dinner than when I talk my mind and talk about things that we actually need to really be talking about, to come into some solutions to if nothing less, just vent about. For that, it's not quite so important. That is really bothersome to me. Does it mean, okay, well, get the E? If they're not tuning in like that, stop doing it. What's the purpose? Purpose is somebody's listening. Y'all always let me know. You keep talking about what you're talking about. It's important. Remember, I say this is the show where we need, that part of the show is the issues that we need to talk about as people. Now, we all may not be talking at once. We all may not be talking every week. But if I reach one person every week, and what I have to say makes a little bit of sense to them to where they take some type of action toward making it for the better and not the worse, it was worth it. Even if I do this another 5 years and I get 20 views, 30 views, and what have you, it still was worth it to me to let you know my mind straight, to let you know how I feel about what's going on my lawn. Because when I think of my lawn, I'm not just thinking about my actual lawn. I'm thinking about the lawn that is the world that I live in, my little piece of this planet, and how everything everybody else's does affects me and vice versa. These are the things that I talk about that keep me up at night, that opens up insomnia theater, as I call it. Those types of things that go on from day to day. Now, yeah, you can say, okay, well, you're doing all this. What are you doing about it? I do what I can. I do what I'm allowed to do. In the end, it all goes for naught if everybody takes that same attitude of, why bother? We already know how this plays out more than likely. When it comes time to vote for these people in September and August and November, there'll be less people voting than they did in 2020. Because several people that voted in 2020 saying, okay, I did the voting, and what good did it do? Not enough. So this time I'm not going to vote at all. And there'll be enough people to say, okay, we got them now. Now, if we go vote and they don't, we can take back over. And if they do that, then what happens? Does it become better or worse? I promise you, on everything I love, the Republicans take over, as it looks like they very well may, and they start to do things that benefit us more so than what the Democrats was doing. Guess what? I'm down with them now for a while. Let's see what they talking about. But if in the end they take over and we get more of the same of nothing getting done and bickering back and forth and not many of the things that we need to happen to go on properly dealt with, then what was the purpose? I'm just hoping enough people one day are going to be like, look, I get it now. I see the real problem. We got to change this. We got to change how this is all set up and set it up better so that the future, however long that future lasts of this country, is better than its past. America has a dark past, okay? For as much as people want to cover it up, we know it to be true. A lot of this country was built on the labor of people who worked for free, who worked as slaves, treated like animals. This happened. We don't need no critical race theory. We don't need no race replacement theory, anything like that to let us know. We know. We know what happened. We know about the Civil War and all of that. Were there different reasons besides racism that was part of that war? Of course. For those who really know, that war was not so much about the racism as it was about better free labor than labor we got to pay for. Understand that at the time, the richer states in the Union were the southern states. They was the ones making the money. And some people up north, they ain't like that. They making all the money and they ain't trying to pay nobody. We up here paying folks and we not getting what they getting. It ain't fair. We got to fix that. Do we get to a point one day where we say, okay, it's enough people to say, look, I'm tired of this. I got my guns. Let's all get together and do what we need to do, like say on like a January 6th, and try to fix this another way. Because that's part of what that was about, that fateful day, people. It wasn't just about Orange Clown coming on saying, yes, join me. We're going to walk down the street and we're going to see what we can do to get democracy back. It wasn't just that. Some people, they was there for that specific message, but a lot of people was there because they was tired of how it went. Remember, the only reason several of y'all voted for the Orange Clown, the whole drain the swamp thing. You were tired of government as it was. And you were right to be, because most government ain't doing the job that we intended, okay? Oftentimes, I still sit and listen to Barack's book, a very excellent book, where he goes in very specific detail of the entire encounter that was his political career, his frustrations, and what he tried to do as opposed to what actually got done. If you take his word as valid, you learn that government ain't quite where we need it to be, and that he basically was set up to fail from the beginning. And then you wonder why Michelle won't run. I'm her. I wouldn't run either. I would not run either. What is it worth? So now I ask you, the people, whether you listen to this later or you ignore it or we talk about it a couple of weeks and it's like, here you go again. At some point, somebody is going to listen. And somebody is going to hear what I'm saying and take it with an open mind and start to think as I'm thinking, that there's got to be a different and better way to do this. Otherwise, we're just sitting here waiting for the earth to keep turning until it's not our turn to be on it no more. And however that goes down, whether you die of old age, you die from gun violence, you die from a variety of different causes and reasons. Was it all in vain? As Big Meech often says, my partner, it's not about when they show you that tombstone, the date you was born or the date you died. It's what you did in that slash in between. What are you doing in the slash right now? Is your life being devoted to doing the right thing and being better people? Or is your life basically, like I said earlier in the broadcast, you just here. You just living and breathing. You doing your 5 things that make you relatively pleased, and that's that. And smurf anybody else. It's all about me and what I can do. Someday, people, either we're going to sit down and really start to get solutions to these issues, or someday we're going to have these conversations and it's going to be looking way worse than it is now. I promise you, we keep ignoring people like myself and others that are speaking out against this foolishness. It will again, as I've said before, and you have yet to prove me otherwise, get worse before it gets better. Violence will get worse. Economy will get worse. Dealing with COVID will get worse. The racial divide will get worse. The problem we're having with our authority figures will get worse. It all will be worse before it gets better. And you wonder why we're having so many issues with mental health these days. For those people like myself that's thinking about it, yeah, we get depressed sometimes. That's part of why. Because we see no hope. We see no solutions oftentimes. We have to dig for reasons to keep the party going. To say, well, despite it all, let me still live my life. Let me still try to do the right things and be a good person. Because sadly, some of y'all say, well, good people die every day. I promise you some good people died in that store in Buffalo the other day. All they was doing was trying to be a good person, a good citizen, live their life in a positive way. And somebody decided that it was their choice to not allow that to happen. And I ask you, are we going to continue to let these people die in vain? Is it all good till it's your people on the front row of the church? Is it all good till you faithfully have that day where you looking at the roof of the church? What is it going to take to truly enact and evoke change in this country, in this world? I want you, if you don't think about nothing else, if nothing else in this 48 plus minute podcast has hit your mind, please consider that one thing. What can we do to make this better? And are you willing to be part of that change? Or are you just cool with doing status quo? That is what I ask. I have no real solutions right now. All I could put out there is what I feel. I was here to listen to what you feel. Amazingly, I received 0 comments in this podcast, a rarity, but it happens. All I ask, like I said, if you see it later and you think of something that's on your mind in regards to it, put it in the comments. I will definitely address them next time around. But if not, just charge this episode to the game. See what I'm talking about next week. Maybe it'll be something a bit more to your liking. Nonetheless, until then, I ask 3 things, y'all. 1, pray for those that are suffering. Pray for those who have experienced loss, whether it be to COVID, gun violence, bad health, whatever the case may be. And I say every day, wake up and understand you are still alive for a reason. It is to serve a purpose. Do not change that purpose by deciding to do the wrong thing tomorrow or in the days to come. Look toward positive change. Look for truly trying collectively to make America great. Don't look for your politicians to do so, because clearly they are not doing what we need them to do. America can only truly be great when we as a collective decide that it's time to get past the foolishness and work toward real change, real improvement. That part. With that being said, this is my time. Thank you guys for listening. Even thanks to those who don't listen, because it's okay. At least I said what I said, and I can go to bed tonight with a clear conscience knowing that, Lord, you know how I felt. I did what I could. I talked about it. Hopefully it does not go on deaf ears to some. But to you others, good luck. That's all I can say to you. Good luck. Anyway, we'll be back again next Tuesday to talk about more things. Good, bad, and otherwise. That's what we do. If you want to check out past episodes of the show, you can check out my Get Off My Lawn Reflections. There are also new podcasts under development that you will be seeing soon, I promise. You also can go to my YouTube page, Eric Butler Nighthawk Network Detroit. Please like and subscribe if you would, and check out past episodes where you will see that several things that I talked about tonight I already was on it. And some of the other things I talked about earlier, yeah, wait a minute. I was right about some of them too. I'm not right about everything, but I find myself I'm more on the right page than not. And I know some other y'all feel that way. I love to hear from more of y'all. The ones that feel like I'm off my rocker and need to be quiet. And this is why I hate the podcast. I love to hear from y'all even more so. I want the negative comments so I can understand why you feel this way. Because maybe I'm not seeing it right. Maybe once y'all explain it to me, I'm the one that's not looking at it the right way. Help me help y'all, okay? Help me help y'all. And again, if you want to keep it somewhat anonymous, you can go to my Gmail account, nighthnetwork313@gmail.com, and put in an email respectfully. Unrespectful emails will be deleted. And please don't send no spam or foolishness to my email. Thank you very much. We ain't got time for that. Of course, we will be back tomorrow with Game Time Audible. That will take place sometime around 8 p.m., where we will talk about sports, the latest that happened in tonight's NBA, draft lottery, what's going on in baseball, so on and so forth. You know how we do it on Wednesday. Me and my partner, the sports guru, Hugh Lee. And, of course, shout out to all the other people in the Nighthawk Network, Dr. Marla Facey and Big Meech and Big Red. And definitely check out his new gospel broadcast that comes on Wednesday, 7 p.m. Let me quickly shout that out as well. We will be posting that at Nighthawk Network page, so you can check it on out with the future pastor, Minister Hayes. We also got Aunt Nikki. And, of course, we got Stan Mason behind the blue curtain. And we got some other people coming down the pipeline. At some point, you will get to see them. Part of that, my fault, part of them trying to figure things out. It all work out in time. We still kind of working stuff out post-pandemic when it comes to some of these things. And, of course, I'm always learning different things to put on the network. So give it time, people. So like I said, one day I'm going to come in here as I have in the past, and I won't be looking at a zero most of the broadcast. There'll be 8, 9, 10, 20 people. It's happened before. I'm sure it'll happen again. Y'all listening. You may not be hearing, but you're listening, and I know. And if not, I know he listening. Put it on their hearts, Lord, to do the right thing. Amen. All right, people, we up out of here. We will see you next Tuesday around about this time. Until then, be safe, be blessed. Watch yourself out there, y'all. It's a tough world we got going right now. Please do what you need to do to be safe and come back home the way you did in one piece and with peace. And that being said, peace.